see. Let's do one more story. I had a couple more, but we'll do this one. So this is 10 signs the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 13 will be the last. Let's see. Is this the end of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills era as we know it? Okay. Now, again, I like to share stuff that we can think about. I don't agree with all of these 10 signs, but we're going to break them down. And I want to know, which signs do you agree with? What signs do you not agree with? Okay. Because I don't agree with all of these 10, but we're going to break them down. All right. So here we go. So this is according to Screen Rant. There are a few reasons why The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills could end after season 13. The reality TV series has been one of Bravo's biggest franchises over the last decade. It premiered in 2010 and has come a long way since then. The spin-off's newest season came out of October 2023, featuring some old cast members and many newcomers. The latest names included proud mommy Sutton Strack, entrepreneur Crystal Kong Minkoff, and Kyle Richards' neighbor Anne-Marie Wiley. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 13 focused on the usual drama, with the biggest plot being Kyle's relationship. The newest season featured some notable moments. In episode 1, viewers got a brief glimpse of former cast member Lisa Rinna's resignation letter. She thanked the network for 8 years and revealed she wouldn't renew her contract or return for the series anymore. Erica Girardi also shut down some rumors about her weight loss. She claimed her transformation was thanks to good hormones and not Ozempic. The premiere episode also showed Kyle and her husband Mauricio Umansky navigating their separate lives. Watching the once happily married couple fall apart was uncomfortable for many viewers. Let's first break down that. Number 1, I don't believe that was Lisa Rinna's resignation letter. I think she got fired. Number 2, Erica Jane is clearly on Ozempic or some type of peptide. I didn't think that hormones did that. And Kyle and Mauricio, yeah, they're super cringe. We all know that. All right. Now let's move on to number 10. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills viewership has declined. The show is failing to keep viewers' attention for long. Despite a successful decade-long run, season 13 may be the last time viewers see The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. One reason is the show's viewership, which highlights The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has become a shadow of its former self. During season 2, the series hit over 2 million viewers in the second demographic. In comparison, season 13 was close to the 1 million mark, with the age ranging from 18 to 49 across multiple platforms. The network also put out delayed viewership numbers, sharing the data of the first 3 days, probably because the live viewership numbers weren't good. Well, a couple of things with that. Number one, I agree that viewership is kind of down. I think that this season, the problem with this season is nobody's happy. We're watching a bunch of miserable women. And I really mean that. Nobody's happy. That's the problem. There's no joy. There's no spark. There's no fun. There's no kiki. I love Sutton, but she's miserable. I love Garcelle, but she's miserable. I love Kyle. Well, I don't know if I love Kyle, but Kyle's miserable. Dorit is miserable. Crystal has no reason to be miserable, but she is. Anne-Marie is insufferable. Erica, miserable. Like, what woman on the show, and I really mean this, are you like, wow, she seems really happy and fulfilled and complete. And I just love watching her because she's a vibe. You know, I love Garcelle, love her, and I love Sutton too. But like I said before, they don't seem happy on like an energetic level. I'm talking about like seriousness, not like, oh girl. I mean like on a serious level, they don't seem happy. And I think that's what's really been making this season that weird energy to it. It's like a weird energy where none of these women are really happy. And even Crystal, who should be happy, seems like she has a great marriage. There's even a low vibe to her, or it's just like, what's wrong, Crystal? Like, what? Shouldn't you be happy too? So I think there's a bit of that going on. And then I don't know how they're doing viewership, but season 2, there wasn't streaming. There wasn't online in season 2. So I don't know if they're only doing like Bravo network numbers. To me, I would need to see, well, what are the Peacock numbers? What are the app numbers? What are the streaming numbers? Because the way we view and consume content today versus 11 years ago is very, very different. So I don't know how they're measuring this, but I do bet viewership it probably is down. So that could definitely be a reason. Okay. Number 9. Many iconic cast members have left the show. Viewers don't get to watch familiar faces anymore. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills may not be as interesting as it used to be due to all the cast exits. When the show premiered in 2010, fans got involved in stories of Taylor Armstrong, Camille Grammer, Adrienne Maloof, Kim Richards, Kyle, Lisa Vanderpump, and many more. Fast forward to season 13, and nearly 90% of the original cast has left the show, with only Kyle remaining. Some other iconic cast members who become famous in the later seasons, like Eileen Davidson and Lisa, have also said goodbye, leaving viewers with only new cast members. This is the thing. I don't think it's so much that familiar faces that left the show. I think it's the way in which they left the show. Left very sour taste in our mouth. What they did to Lisa Vanderpump was disgusting. We don't got to get into the details. We all know. Camille Grammer leaving. Camille was great TV. The fact that I think it was, in my opinion, I think Kyle got her fired off the show because Kyle, although she isn't a technical producer, she is definitely a performative producer. She's really close with the other producers on the show. She was really in with Alex Baskin and some other people. Camille and Kyle were beefing, and you normally when you beef with Kyle, unless you have your own pull in a very, very strong way, she kind of has a way of getting you out. She did it with Carlton. She did it with Camille. Adrienne Maloof left after Brandy outed the fact that she used surrogacy to have her children, and her children didn't even know. That left a bad taste. So it's not that they're leaving, it's the way in which Kim Richards, right? All of that. And I think that if they added new people who made more sense and didn't keep people on too long, i.e. the faux Fox 5, then that would be different. But I don't think it's necessarily that the OGs have left. I think it's why they left a sour taste, and who they were replaced with wasn't that great. Like Teddy was a flop. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So that's what I really think is going on here. But I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. All right. Number 8. Kyle Richards may want to quit to focus on her future. Kyle may need to take time off to bring order to her chaotic life. Another reason why Real Housewives of Beverly Hills may end is Kyle's potential exit. She may want to take time off to focus on her life and future. Over the months, she has faced many challenges in her personal life. She has dealt with divorce rumors about her husband Mauricio, new relationship rumors with Morgan Wade, and many more. Kyle may need time to focus on herself and her goals. After season 13, she may want to work on her relationship with Mauricio or finally decide to move on for a better future with someone else. Now, I don't think this is a reason for the show to end. I think this is a reason for the show to get better. I think Kyle's time has been up. And what we see now of her on the show is a very good example of what happens when a person's time on a show is expired and it starts to stink. I think there should be shelf lives for housewives. There just comes a point in time in anybody's natural life cycle where they're not having storylines, they're not having authentic drama, they're not having things that are enjoyable to watch. I think Kyle, for the majority of the time she's been on the show, has deflected and used other people's storylines and issues and piggybacked off of them, being the pot stir, being the producer plant on the show. And now that she actually has to focus on her own life, it's a complete, crap show. It's a complete mess. I think Kyle should have left this show maybe 1 or 2 seasons ago. It's always better to leave on a high than a low. But I think Kyle leaving the show would help to save it rather than help to sink it. Okay. And that will lead you to what I feel about number 7. Because remember, we're going through the article, but I want you guys to dissect what do you agree with and what you don't agree with. I don't agree with this one either. This one says, new cast members aren't enough to carry the show in Kyle's absence. New stars' lives may not be alone to hook the audience. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has always been star-studded, with wealthy families like the Richards and Vanderpump being the show's highlight. However, things have changed considerably after all the cast members dropped out of the franchise and moved on. Now, the series relies upon Kyle's, whose exit could mean the end of the show. If Kyle leaves Beverly Hills, the new names like Crystal, Garcelle, Sutton, Dorit, and Erica aren't enough to carry the show any further. Bravo will have to go back to get some of the originals if they want to continue the series. I don't agree with that. I don't think that if Kyle left the show, the other woman wouldn't be interesting enough to carry it. I don't think that's true at all. I don't think we even need to go back and get old faces. I think we need to get some new faces. I think that's been a big problem with the franchises, is that they try to go back and recycle the old when what we need is new. And I don't think that Kyle leaving would be a detriment to the show. I think it would actually help. I think it would lighten the show. And to be honest with you, this season, Garcelle has really become the anchor of the show. I think Sutton is the MVP. I think Sutton's that girl of the show, but I think Garcelle is the anchor. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Sutton's the MVP because she's coming, she's stirring the pot, she's funny, she has the one-liners, she's going after Kyle, she's giving it, she's quirky. That's what I mean by she's the MVP. She's fun to watch. We like her, you know? What I mean Garcelle is the anchor is this. You could tell that they were making Garcelle the anchor of the show when they orchestrated the whole Garcelle and Erica and Sutton coming together trio. So when Garcelle and Erica got together to have the drinks, and then Sutton came and they were laughing and kikiing and they bonded and they were drinking and everything, that was the shift from Kyle being the anchor to Garcelle being the anchor. And Garcelle even says it. She goes, I like this trio. And then you see from then on, you see a rift between Dorit and Erica, where Erica has more of Garcelle's side, Garcelle perspective. She's still in some ways trying to be there for Dorit in certain ways, but you can tell her allegiance has shifted. You see Kyle more on her own island, spiraling about the whole Mauricio thing going on. Clearly, Sutton and Garcelle's friendship is one of the best things about it. And then obviously Crystal and Garcelle get along and they're friends. Garcelle plays Anne-Marie Dust because Anne-Marie is pretty much irrelevant. And who else is there? Once they had that little trio with Sutton, Erica, and Garcelle, to me, I was like, okay, so they're shifting. And I think that means they're getting ready for Kyle's exit either way. Because usually Kyle would be the anchor of the show. I'm not saying she's the fan favorite. I'm not saying she's the MVP. I'm not saying she's that girl. But she has always been the anchor of the show. The hub from which the friendships flow from and how people know each other and how they're attached. But I think this season, if you really watch, I think strategically, and I think the producers are in on it, they were shifting the anchor from Kyle to Garcelle. Because right now, Garcelle is really the anchor of the different relationships. That's why Dorit and Garcelle going head to head is such a big thing. You know, Garcelle clapping back at Dorit and putting her in her place, and then having to have their talks about everything. That is Garcelle saying, no, sweetheart, I'm the anchor of the show now. You need to basically kiss the ring because that's where we're at. I don't think Garcelle would have done that previously because she hasn't, because Dorit has made microaggressions against her many, 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 many times. That's why it all came to a head. But Garcelle has never checked Dorit the way she's been checking her now, because she knows she is now the anchor of the show. So I don't think it matters if Kyle is there or not. That's just how I feel about it. Okay. Number 6. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills audience is losing interest in new star shenanigans. Fans say Beverly Hills need to be canceled. And this is according to Reddit, and Reddit is the Bible. Okay? Apart from Kyle's epic split-up drama in The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 13, there aren't many things fans care about in the show. People are least interested in the new star stories and have publicly shared that they want the show to end. In one Reddit thread via another feminist, fans discussed it was time for Beverly Hills to be canceled because it wasn't as interesting as before. A Redditor commented, "It's getting so old," adding that the cast members are now focusing on the most basic, surface level issues to create on-screen drama. Another Redditor wrote, "Vet your newbies better or bring back the oldies." I agree. It's like I was saying before. The problem with the franchise now is that in actual, quote, reality, there's a lot of juiciness going on. There's a lot, like I was saying, between Dorit and PK. I think she's very bitter towards him. I think there's a lot of resentment there. What's really going on with Kyle and Mauricio? It's not about Instagram DMs, or it's so much bigger than that. Garcelle, I need Garcelle to talk about what's going on in her actual life, not just her 15-year-old son's sex life. Nasty. I don't want to hear it. I think all of these women, and even Sutton, I think she's sharing very sparkly things like, "Oh, I want to prove this to my husband." I don't think Sutton does anything to prove anything to her ex-husband. I think all of that is just a narrative she's spinning. I think all of these women have so much more interesting real life things that if they really wanted to get vulnerable, if they really wanted to share on the show, they could, but they're not. And what we're getting now is a very shiny object front of what's really going on behind the surface. And it's like we all feel there's so much more going on, but they're not giving it. And that's why we have the disconnect. And I think that all of these women, even Erica, I think all of these women truly would be very interesting. And I would be more invested in watching if they were giving more authenticity of what the real deal is. Like, I don't think we really know what's going on in Garcelle's life. I don't think we really know what's going on in Crystal's life. I don't think we really know what's going on in Dorit's life, or even Sutton's. And I think that, yes, I do think that there are levels. I do think there should be boundaries. I do think no matter what your job is, you're allowed to have privacy. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to keep certain things sacred. 1000%. I don't care if you are the most famous person on this planet. You don't owe everybody everything. Of course not. But what I mean is there is a lack of authenticity that's going on the show. And I think that's the core problem that we're feeling. That's really what I mean. But I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. All right, number 5. Bravo could cancel the show to reboot like Roni. The network would try a different approach to retain viewership. There's a possibility that Bravo could do the same thing to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills that they did to the Real Housewives of New York City. In 2023, the network rebooted Roni completely, bringing in a new cast, stories, and drama. Fans have also been asking Bravo to reboot Real Housewives of Beverly Hills since the show desperately needs it. In a recent social media discussion via Hello Brooklyn, viewers discussed why Real Housewives of Beverly Hills deserves a complete reboot and new casting. The network may listen to its fans and give the series the much-needed adrenaline boost by reimagining it with new cast members. I'm going to tell you this. I agree. I wouldn't be mad at that. And I think they're doing something similar with Atlanta because Kandi Burruss came out and said no one's gotten contracts offers for Atlanta. And you can see when certain accounts start doing polls like which number people do you want to come back and all that stuff. I personally think that the real reality reckoning isn't Bethany Frankel. Sorry, boo boo. I think the real reality reckoning is that they're going to start systematically rebooting each franchise. I think it started with New York as a test. Then I think they're going to reboot Atlanta. And then I think they're going to reboot Beverly Hills. What other franchise do we have? I think Miami Peacock will keep the same. Because remember, Miami isn't Bravo, it's Peacock. What other franchises do we have? Potomac. I wouldn't be surprised if they put Potomac on pause in general after this season. But I think that's what they're going to do. And then what I think they're going to do is all of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls trips will be more like legacy. That they're going to use the OGs, or not even the OGs, but just the previous housewives on the franchise just for Ultimate Girls trips. And then they're going to start to do reboots for each franchise city. And I think they're casting, I want to say in Memphis, Tennessee, for maybe a new city, I think. That's what I saw. That could be wrong. That's what I thought it was. But I think they're going to start doing new franchises in new cities, rebooting the cities we have, or forever pauses like a Dallas. And then any of the old housewives, they'll be recycled on Ultimate Girls trips or Crappy Lakes, spinoffs and things like that. That's what I think the real reality reckoning will be. Because I do think that overall, a lot of these women, the premise and the capacity of the show, there just comes a point where it's time to bow out, where it's just enough. It's just recycled over and over. No one's being real and no one's no longer invested. That's what I think. Okay. Number 4. Lisa Rinna throws shade at the show. Again, I don't think this has anything to do with the longevity of the show, but since it's in the article, let's talk about it. Lisa doesn't want to work in toxic conditions, even though she creates them. Filming the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has become toxic for cast members, as per Lisa. In early 2023, she shared her feelings with People and implied some reasons for her departure from the show. She said, "I just think it's unhealthy." Lisa claimed she effing hated her recent months on the franchise while dealing with her mother's passing. She claimed the show wasn't right for her, hinting that it wasn't what it used to be. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alums' scary words indicate that the backstage may be full of tension or a toxic environment that the public doesn't know about. Ooh, child. Let's dissect how horribly wrong this is, in my opinion. Again, when we read these articles, we're reading them with a critical candy cane lens. We're not just believing what the person puts down. Number 1, Lisa Rinna was the toxicity herself. She was toxic, she was dark, she was evil. She was doing all of that behind the scenes. Number 2, I don't think Lisa Rinna, her opinion, has any micro iota of an effect on what happens with this franchise, past, present, or future. I think that if Lisa Rinna could be back on the show, she would be in a heartbeat. She would be a friend of, sidekick, all of that stuff. But they were warned not to bring Lisa Rinna around. That's why you don't see her at any of the quote parties. We got Denise popping up. We got Camille popping up. We got Kim popping up. We got Faye popping up. We don't see Rinna popping up. They told her she was person non gratas. So they're very serious about that. So I don't know what's going on with this one. That's why I tell you guys, when you read articles, always use your own common sense mind and think, does this make any sense? And it doesn't. You know what I just thought about? Guys? I have a question for Bethany Frankel and for Lisa Rinna. This is my question. How come Lisa Rinna has not been on Bethany's podcast? She's had Rachel from Vanderpump Rules. She's had Nene. She's had somebody else is coming on Bethany's podcast. Somebody else like that. How come Lisa Rinna hasn't been on her podcast? Isn't that interesting? You would think Lisa Renna, who has all this crap about Bravo, hasn't aligned herself with Bethany. You know why? Because Lisa Renna still wants a job. She still wants to be on the show if she can. And she realized she effed up burning the bridge when she went after Hilton. There is no way in hell she's going to align herself with Bethany Frankel and really have the door shut. But there's somebody else going on Bethany's podcast, or just went on her podcast, that's sort of like this world. But you would think, right? I would actually listen to that. And then we would come on here and talk crap about it because it's fun. Anyway, here we go. Number 3. There's no news on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 14 Renewal. Bravo may consider other options before filming Season 14. Bravo is pretty quick while renewing or greenlighting its popular shows. Often fans can find the news about the announcements of new seasons early on. However, the network hasn't released any information on whether they have renewed Beverly Hills for more seasons and what's in the future for this series. The silent hints that Bravo may reconsider what to do with the spinoff after the recent season. The network may try to reboot the show, end it, or transform it into something else. The year 2024 will be a wild one for the Beverly Hills fans. Again, I think that they haven't renewed it because I think they're going to reboot it. I think they're going to find a new cast, or it's going to be move forward with Garcelle as the anchor, Kyle possibly gone, and like some new people. I kind of want a reboot, to be honest with you. Or I wouldn't mind some more girlfriends or ladies of, because remember they had the Real Girlfriends of Paris, and everybody was like, oh, it's like the Housewives. No, the Real Girlfriends of Paris was like Ladies of London. That's why it wasn't called the Real Housewives of Paris. It was called the Girlfriends of Paris. It's supposed to be like the Ladies of London, which obviously is also a knockoff of the Housewives. But yeah, I wouldn't mind some more shows like that. I thought that it was cute and it was fun, and I really liked it. I really like Girlfriends of Paris. It was cute. I liked it. All right, number 2. Let's see. Number 2. The new ladies don't have chemistry. New cast members seem to hang out together solely for the sake of the show. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills no longer works because of the chemistry between new cast members. The change was first noticed in season 10 when many newcomers were getting to know each other. At the time, it was realized that the new cast was simply on the show for the sake of it. There was some suggestion that the ladies could never hang out with each other if it weren't for filming. Over the years, this lack of chemistry has only broadened, with even newer names joining the franchise. The show needs a cast with history and chemistry. This is what I think on that. Yes and no. I think, does the show need a cast? Because chemistry and history are not mutually exclusive. You can have chemistry without having history. That's why you have a one-night stand. You meet a guy at a bar and you have a lot of chemistry, but you don't know who this person is. You can have a lot of chemistry and no history. And you could have a lot of history and no chemistry. Okay? Sutton and Kyle, they have a lot of history, but they don't have chemistry. They're not mutually exclusive. Does the cast itself need history and chemistry? Yes. But that doesn't mean it has to come in the same form because they're not mutually exclusive, right? For example, Garcelle and Sutton had no history. They met via the show, but they had great chemistry. And that's why now they're friends. And that's what we need. Yes, we need history, people who have like, real friendships and they actually know each other. But beyond history, we need people who have chemistry, people who can come together, form friendships, form bonds, and have fun and have a great kiki. Because Sutton and Garcelle are one of my favorite friendships to watch on the show, and they had no history, but they had great chemistry, right? So I think the number one thing that the people need to cast for is chemistry. Will these people get along? Will they find common ground? Will they come together? And then the problem with history is, yes, they can have history, but don't fake it because we smell when they lie. And I'll give you an example. Anna Marie. Don't lie and act like you have a history with Kyle Richards when you don't. I don't know why they want to get in our faces and play like Kyle and Anne Marie. They don't have chemistry and they're lying about their history. These two women are not friends. These two women are not friends. You had Anne Marie, and again, I don't know who's editing these shows because whoever is editing the shows, they need to do better. Because I don't know how they kept in. It was like 2 episodes ago. Dorit and Anne Marie were going over to Kyle's house. Okay. Anne Marie said, and then Dorit and Kyle are talking about Morgan. Anne Marie says, and this is on the show, who's Morgan? At this point in time, I don't care if you are a fan of the show, not a fan of the show, adjacent to the show. Everybody knows at this point in time, Morgan is Kyle's alleged lover. They've been spotted in Aspen, Timbuktu, Mexico, Beverly Hills, Texas, Idaho, Utah, everywhere to hoe. They have been spotted every single where. They're in Page 6 every single day, Reality Blurb every single day. They are doing, make-out sessions in the music videos. You are going to sit here and tell me that Kyle Richards and Anne Marie are friends and Anne Marie has no idea who the hell Morgan Wade is? And you want to sit and play in my face and tell me that Anne Marie and Kyle are friends? Bye. That's the problem. Don't lie about the history between two people. That's when it doesn't work, because we, the audience, shout out to Bethany Frankel, we are smarter than you. And when you try to lie to us, we know. And that's what makes us not want to watch. That's what makes the show not fun, because you're lying to us. Just be like, oh my gosh, this is Anne Marie. She seems really cool. We don't know each other that well. We're getting to know each other, and I would love to introduce her to the group of friends. And I'm getting to know her. We're all getting to know her together. She seems really great. Boom, done. I would buy into that, because I personally don't need history. It's nice, but I would prefer chemistry. That's why I love watching Sutton and Garcelle, because they're a hoot. They're a hoot. I love them together because they have great chemistry. That's the problem. It's the lying of it all. Anne Marie literally said, "Who's Morgan?" Dorit could have fell off of her chair, because you're going to sit here and play in my face and tell me these two people are friends. I know who Morgan Wade is, and I've never met any of these people a day in my life. I'm better friends with Kyle than Anne Marie is at this point, to be perfectly honest with you. I know more about this woman than Anne Marie knows. And then Anne Marie comes in so hot against Sutton in defense of her friend Kyle. Now we know that's fake. That's a mouthpiece. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. That's what the problem is. It's not about people not having a history. It's about the lying about the history. And it's about cast members not having chemistry. Not a chemistry fit, Anne Marie. She's not a chemistry fit. You know who else isn't? Quiet as this kept? Crystal. Not a chemistry fit. Not a chemistry fit. That's why she's so quiet on the show and barely there, and they're editing her out. Her herself, I think, is fine if she showed up more. But on a chemistry level, she doesn't fit that well in with the girls. You know who was a chemistry fit but was evil as hell? Lisa Rena. She was a chemistry fit. When it came to it, she gathered the girls, she got them together, she had the faux Fox 5. She was a chemistry fit. The problem was she was really evil and dark. You know? That's what the problem is. They're not finding the right people who have the right chemistry. That is what makes a great show. That's why Vanderpump Rules was so great, because it had authentic history and authentic chemistry. That's why Vanderpump Rules was such a diamond in the rough, because these people really knew each other and these people truly had chemistry. But when they tried to force it later on, seasons 8 and 9, 7, 8, 9, with the whole Max and Dana and all these other weird people, when they tried to force it, that's when it started to fall off. And Scandal saved it. When they started to force history with people who had no chemistry. So that's really what's going on here. So casting producers, if you're listening, your number one thing you need to test for is chemistry. And if you get history, then you've lucked out. Okay? But that's the best way to do. And ideally, when you are, casting friends or people who know each other, you think that you would have both history and chemistry, but that's not always the case, right? But you don't always have to do that. Like Dubai. Those women I don't think had a lot of history, but I think at the end of the day we'll get there with the chemistry, you know. Anyway, there's that. Now let's move on to the number one reason. Major storylines have concluded. OG cast members' interesting stories have reached their resolution. I agree with this. This I agree with. Like any reality TV show, Beverly Hills is all about cast members and their journeys. Unsurprisingly, many of their journeys have concluded over the last 13 years. Nowadays, Beverly Hills seems like a series without a purpose, which impacts it negatively. The show has no watch-worthy storylines, and none of the drama appears as genuine. When the cast was new to the series, each of them had certain goals in their minds. Witnessing their stories unfold and watching them reach their destinations was entertaining. Unfortunately, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has no major plot left anymore, which calls for a reboot. This I agree with. This is one that I agree with. I do think that I think it's a wrap. I think that like all cycles in everybody's life, it comes to an inevitable end. And when you see people try to hold on when their end has come, it doesn't bode well. That's what happened with Nene in Atlanta. Her particular cycle came to an end, but she wanted to hold on to it, and that blew up in her face. Kyle, I think her cycle has come to an end, but she's still holding on, and it's sour. It's like, what's that saying? Like, guests and fish start to stink after 3 days. Everything has an expiration. And when you try to force something beyond its expiration, it starts to stink. And that is why this season is stinking. Yes, there are great moments. Yes, there are great keys at times, and I'm watching and I'm enjoying it, and we're talking about it. But I agree, it's missing its oomph that it used to have. I loved Beverly Hills. I watch every single episode since forever, but it's missing something because things aren't fresh. Everything to me seems a little stale. And I do think that reboots are necessary. And it's nothing against the women. It's nothing against Kyle. It's nothing against anybody on the cast. It's just, honestly, at the end of the day, it's kind of just business. It's just good storytelling. To be honest with you, it's both business and creative. It's good storytelling. If your characters, because they are playing characters, whether they're on reality or not, if your character's journey, your hero's journey has come to an end, it's the end. It's the end. It's just basic storytelling. And that's why things aren't working. That's why there's no storylines. That's why things don't seem genuine. That's why they're fighting over nothing. That's why they're talking about all these weird things, is because people like Potomac, that could have a reboot. To be honest with you, I can't name one woman on that show that I feel invested in, and I like them. It's not personal. I like Karen. I love Karen, but I think that is a cast for whatever. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but that's for a whole other video. That energy cesspool needs to go. It went to a certain toxic level that I don't think it's able to come out of. You know what I mean? That needs to come out, but yeah. So I want to know what you guys think. Which of these 10 reasons do you agree with? I did not agree with all of them. I agreed with some of them. I want to know which ones you agreed with and which ones you didn't agree with. And do you think this will be the last season of Beverly Hills as we know it? I think it could be. I definitely think if they come back for season 14, it might be a swan song. Like they might be wrapping a lot of things up and then do a reboot. Or they might pull Atlanta and just don't renew contracts and leave people hanging and see what happens. So I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. Are you watching? Are you still watching? Do you want a reboot? Do you want OGs? What do you guys think? And be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, be sure to grab a conspiracy tea, which is linked down below, because we don't believe in coincidence. We only believe in conspiracy. So with that, you guys, I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat. And I'll take some candy cane questions and comments. But I'm going to take a little sip first to give my voice a little bit of a break. I've been talking for 2.5 hours, so yeah, there we go. Okay, you guys. All right, so let's see here. If I miss anybody's comment or question, I apologize. I'm just going to start at a random place. So if I missed you, well, I'll just start at the top and see what happens. The Talkie says, hi, Candy. Hey, sweetheart. Chocolate Chunk says, hey, everyone.